Welcome to Crowned and Candid, Real Sips, Real Stories. I'm your host, Alicia Braswell, a life and well-being coach and owner of Empowered Within. This is the podcast with real people, real stories, and real conversations about the journey, the breakthroughs, and everything in between. And fellas, this is for you too, because breakthroughs have no gender. Let's get ready to pour into you.
This week, I sit down with Chef Chelsea Burwell of Flavor Fix by Chelsea. We get into cooking as a love language, listening for God's nuggets, and finding the confidence to straighten your crown. This is Edible Love Letters, cooking with purpose, serving with love. Welcome to Crowned and Candid. I am so excited to be here today. My guest is super special. And y'all, I have been waiting to introduce her to you. You know, sometimes God just puts people in your life and you just know. And that's this woman right here. She packed up, made her way to Nashville, and Nashville has not been the same since. She is the founder and owner of Flavor Fix by Chelsea. She's been featured in Nashville Voyeur and Bold Journey because when you're doing something real, people notice. She is an all-around beautiful person inside and out. And most importantly, she's my girl from corner to corner. So Chelsea, I'm excited to have you. Welcome to Crowned and Candid.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. That was an introduction I don't know if I'm worthy of, but I'm going to receive it. Thank you so much.
It's all true.
Thank you.
So, let's jump in. And can you tell our guest a little bit about you?
Yeah, absolutely. So Alicia did an amazing job. So like she mentioned, I moved to Nashville originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was 19, 20, and wanted something different. Came here originally, go to TSU, but I have family here, so it was easy for me to relocate and still have some support within my journey and my time here. I've worked in the hospitality market, and then made my way into HR positions, and then worked my way into the position that I'm in now, which is in project management for the school board. That's what I do to make sure that my bills are paid on time. Aside from that, which is why we're here, is my own personal business. I don't like to call it a side hustle. I don't like to call it a side business. It's my passion project. And it is Flavor Fix by Chelsea. So I have always had a passion for cooking since I was 15, making Thanksgiving dinner, and since my grandfather wouldn't eat unless I cooked him dinner because my mom was not the best cook. So ever since then, that that has been what I have loved to do. I've always expressed my love with my family through cooking. And about 3 years ago, I decided to make that love into an actual business because I realized that God didn't give me that purpose just to share it with my small community. He gave it to me to share with a large community. So ever since then, I have been trucking along and listening to him in everything that I do and whatever direction he puts me in, whether that's, meal preps, whether that's just selling some plates, or if it's catering events for 100 people, or even down to cooking classes. I am doing all of the things.
Yes, you are. And I'm loving this. Girl, I did not know you were in HR.
I have been, not right now, but I've worked in HR for Amazon, and for some other places. Yes.
So when did you know that Flavor Fix was something you were truly meant to do?
So, and pardon me if I don't get all of the details 100% correct because life goes on and you just keep moving.
We're candid
Um,
here. This is crowned and candid. We are candid. We are real people, real stories. So you're good.
Period. So I started off selling plates probably about 3 years ago. I decided, like, hey, I already kind of post my food on Instagram and people already, say stuff about it. I should like start selling some of this stuff and seeing, kind of where it goes. And my first plate drop was a success. I sold almost 30 plates. And I've had family members and friends that have cooked and have sold plates, and they were like, if you get 15, 20, then you're in a good spot. So for me to already be at 30, I'm like, okay, that's kind of sign number one, right? Um, Kept going, and
Mm-hmm.
then my clients regularly, my meal prep, my plate clients were like, I want you to cook for me regularly, which is where I got into doing meal prep. So I'm like, okay, another sign.
Mm-hmm.
During that time, I started being a lot more active in church. So I did grow up in a Catholic church. I've always been
Mm-hmm.
really engrossed in the church. And when I moved to Nashville, I didn't really find a church home that really stood out to me. My Catholic church in Pittsburgh was a bit unique for a Catholic church.
Mm-hmm.
It was mainly Black dominated, and I couldn't necessarily find that here. So I didn't
Mm-hmm.
feel as connected as I wanted to. So
Mm-hmm.
I finally found one city, and I've been going for probably about a year and a half now. And then the more that I have been going to church and praying on it, the more that God was giving me opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And so God
Mm.
usually speaks to me in pretty strong ways, and the messages would
Yes.
be very aligned in um, what I was specifically praying for. So I knew at that
Mm-hmm.
moment that I'm going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And then I became fully
That's
legit,
beautiful.
rebranded, found a
Fully
name.
legit.
Yes.
Oh, I
Um,
love that. I
It
love
started
that.
off Chelsea's Plates, and then we went into Flavor Fix by Chelsea. It was a lot of planning, it was a lot of work. I had a friend who helped me with a lot of that stuff, building my website, actual photos, creating the LLC, um, and moving from being
Mm-hmm.
looked at as somebody who could just cook to an actual business. And I've created that foundation, laid that
Mm.
down, and been moving with it ever since.
Yeah. And when you talked about God sent that, that nugget to you, prayer and just listening, because with my coaching, it is grounded in mind, body, spirit. And so when I talk about spirit, I talk about soul. When I talk about soul, I talk about
Hmm.
listening to God, listening to a higher power. And so many times people will disregard that and feel like, oh, I don't think it's me. He's not talking to me. Sometimes I feel like he's got to beat me over the head, which he does.
Because he
But
will put
it's
you in
really
some
about that.
uncomfortable
Listen,
situations.
went from Chelsea's Plates to Flavor Fix by Chelsea. And I was reading in one of the articles is that when you made that decision, it was based on some learning about yourself to change your focus. Can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, so I one thing that I knew for sure is that I love to cook. And what
Mm-hmm.
makes me love that about the thing that I love about cooking isn't necessarily just the cooking aspect, it's seeing people's reactions once they get my food and being able to communicate
Mm-hmm.
love through my dishes. And so in that, I kept looking for where where is this going to go next? Where can this go next? Where should this go next? Because with
Mm.
food, there's so many different places. You could go full
Mm-hmm.
nutrition. You can go strictly events. You could do meal preps, or you can be a kind of umbrella of all of the things. And so I moved
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like peeking in the door in each direction. So trying each thing out, and
Mm-hmm.
then I just kind of kept going from there. I mean, honestly, Yeah, I mean, it was really just time. It was really just time, and
Mm-hmm.
I had some great people around me that were pushing me. And, some
Mm-hmm.
things that people don't realize whenever, as we're talking about signs and listening to God, is God knows you
Mm-hmm.
better than
Ooh.
than you know yourself. So he knows
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes you don't have the discernment to be able to listen to him just internally. He'll send externals. And when he sends other
Mm-hmm.
people, you need to listen to that as well. Um, and so, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yes, that doesn't mean listen to every, nook and cranny off the street, but sometimes when I'm in an elevator and somebody will randomly give me words, I don't take that for granted.
Mm-hmm.
And that was happening pretty frequently and still happens very, very so often to this day.
Yeah. I love that. That's beautiful. I'll jump in here and say to everyone, Chelsea has done that for me. I was recently part of Corner to Corner, and I made it to the final four pitch. And I was disappointed in myself. I was disappointed in my performance. But okay, I'm not going to get teary eyed.
No.
But Chelsea reached out to me. Okay. Chelsea reached out to me to say that she was proud of me and that I did a good job and she loved me. And that's when I knew she was special. And that's what I needed to hear. I needed to hear it because I was really down on myself. I was so disappointed.
And you still won third place. So let's think about that.
Right. But thank you. But I just want to go back to when you were talking about sometimes people that you don't know, people on an elevator can just say a word and it just touches you to where you have to step back and think like, yeah, okay, that was God sent. And it's one of those God nuggets that comes down. Maybe you wouldn't have realized it, but God said, okay, I'm going to drop it here and this person's going to say it. So I want to tell you in person, because I know I sent you a text back. Thank you so much. And it meant so much to me.
I
Okay,
receive that.
enough about me.
We
So
listen,
you've
we can
talked
go into
about,
that. That's not a problem. Not a problem.
I know I'm like over here crying. So you mentioned your church family and your community and your connections. So for the woman out there who, or man, who feels like they're doing something alone or maybe building something along, like they're feeling like there's no net and things are still just getting heavy and they keep falling, what would you say to her right now?
I would say they always get heavier before you start to really prevail. So
Mm-hmm.
when in, back to the 3 years ago question or 2 years ago question, kind of when everything started to go on an incline for me, life had to
Mm-hmm.
fall apart. Life had to be rearranged. I mean, after 7, 8 months of launching my business, and right around the time where I got my LLC and I created my name and got legit, and then had like some of my first catering clients, my dad got very sick. And my dad has been kind of it's sick,
Mm-hmm.
has had some health concerns like a lot of my life. So it wasn't necessarily
Mm-hmm.
something new initially. It was right after Christmas of 2024. Yeah. So going into 2025, and he, wasn't
Mm-hmm.
feeling well. I went over there, me and my brother had to practically carry him to the car to get him to the hospital. I'm thinking, he
Mm-hmm.
just, has, a flu, whatever. We dropped him off. I get a call the next morning saying that they had
Mm-hmm.
to put him on a ventilator, and he was
Oh no.
like it was bad. They had to put him in a drug induced coma. He was on life support for 10 days, and it was
Mm.
rough. I still had meal prep. I still had clients that I had to attend to. And to put in context, I am my dad's I have four brothers and sisters, but I am the main person who kind of makes a lot of those decisions. So it was very heavy, while still
Mm-hmm.
working through that, and it still can be. But I go to
Mm-hmm.
therapy regularly. Like I said, I talk to God, and understanding that your community doesn't just look like your immediate family. So you can find family anywhere. So
Mm.
even if you weren't, necessarily, because your family doesn't isn't going to be able to support you sometimes a lot of ways that you who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes I find my family not even really understanding the capacity of what I do and my capabilities, but they're not supposed to. If they don't have to, they know you for
Mm-hmm.
the 5-year-old that they, chased around the pool, or they know
Mm-hmm.
you for the 16-year-old that they had to reprimand for getting into a car accident, whatever that looks like in your life. They don't know you as a full
Mm-hmm.
person. So
Mm-hmm.
understanding that there's so many complexities in that, and that if you haven't found your tribe, they're still out there. There are way too many people on this earth, for nobody to be able to understand you. Everybody has a lane, and once
Mm-hmm.
you find it'll all make sense. You still haven't found all the people that are going to love you, and you never will until you meet your last dying day. And even then, you
Mm-hmm.
could still be remembered after that. Your grandkids, your lineage, your nieces, your
Mm-hmm.
nephews, their children. So I have grandparents that I never met that I love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's beautiful. I love that. And you're right. It doesn't necessarily always have to be family. It could be people like we were talking about that God puts in your life. You just have to be open to it. You know, from that, I want to transition into, we were talking about food and, bringing people together and just hearing your stories. Do you think your real calling was about cooking, or is it about something bigger?
So, great question. I think that my bigger calling has more to do with bringing people together and about community. When I was younger, I always wanted to be an activist. I know that I'm very light, but I am Black and Italian. I grew up, in a underprivileged community, and I have always been in spaces that, were very mixed. So sometimes I would hear a lot of different sides of the coin. So I had a perspective that was
Mm-hmm.
a little bit different than other people, because I could hear how flawed
Mm-hmm.
people were, because they were candid with me, because they didn't
Mm-hmm.
know who I was. If we're making sense,
You're
then
right.
we're hearing it, right? Um, and
Mm-hmm.
so I've always been passionate about us, and I've always been passionate about, um, being that support for somebody, being the person that I would have needed. And I just strive to be that as an adult. And I think that,
Mm-hmm.
um, a big part of my food is just a barrier to be able to kind of bring people together. It's kind of like that glue. But no, it's not necessarily all that God has for me. And I think he's
Mm-hmm.
just going to reveal it in time. So God can't give you all of his plans because you'll run away, right? So as I keep
Mm-hmm.
progressing into this journey and keep putting myself into the spaces that he wants me in, it'll be revealed to me a lot more. And keep taking these opportunities and meeting amazing people like Alicia and our corner to corner family, and just really surrounding myself with the
Mm-hmm.
type of people that, um, are in the direction that I'm headed. And as I continue with that,
Mm-hmm.
it'll be revealed a lot more.
Thank you. So you talked about your culture. And so you've got soul food and Italian cuisine. Ooh.
Hmm.
Honestly, I'm gonna be real. It's not a combination that when I first met you, I was like, how does that work? But y'all, let me tell you, you better go ahead and get on her books because she can cook. She can cook it all. She got the recipe. And if you know the mac and cheese situation, yeah, she got that. So tell me how did you come about saying, I want to do soul food, and I want to do it's almost like a fusion. I want to do a fusion of soul food and Italian. Was that about actually you marrying your two cultures?
So, yes. So in the process of when you're planning a business, you're trying to think of different ways where you could be unique and where you could stand out, and where you can bring yourself into what it is that you're doing. And so, in that, of
Mm-hmm.
course, with me being Black and Italian, those are always going to be the dishes that are going to mean more to me, and they're just within my wheelhouse,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I'm not going to tell you. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I can make a good hibachi too, but I'm not going to tell you to book me to make beef and broccoli and some, whatever. I could, but I would prefer that you
I
let
know
me
you could.
stay.
I know you could.
I would prefer that you let me stay within my wheelhouse, right? And so basically, when I would kind of those
Mm-hmm.
elements that I come from, but bringing it into
Mm-hmm.
the more traditional space. So sometimes I'll use a heavier cheese, add some pepper jack, add some more spice to it, and more flavored forward. Same thing with my lasagna. And then kind of the same thing when molding it into my, soul food dishes and putting pepper jack cheese
Mm-hmm.
into macaroni, whatever, and kind of blending it in that way. So it was always very natural. So I don't think that
Mm.
I ever thought of it kind of in any other way. The way that I look at it, like I said, when kind of blending those two together, is that I really just season my Italian food like it's soul food. And it works out every time.
I love that. You putting the soul in Italian food. Let's say that. It's
because
it's putting
because
the
we have
soul
a
in
lot of
the
soul over
Italian
there,
food.
the Italians, were very passionate people over there. So, it
Mm-hmm.
makes sense that it's a little spicy.
A little spicy. Let's put some spice to it. In one of the articles I read about edible love letters. So, what did you mean? What does that mean to you?
Hmm. So it's my slogan. So that is kind of my if I could sum up how I want you to feel in when you're eating my dish, it's going to be that you have an edible love letter, right? I have always
Mm-hmm.
been I've been a poet at heart, and very much an
Mm-hmm.
artist. And so, also the way that I describe my cooking and my business is my area of art. So, like food is my art. So, however, from the way that it looks to the way that
Mm-hmm.
it makes you feel, I want to be able to serve the same dish to five different people, and everybody gets something different out of it, right? The same way how we can all go to a museum.
Mm-hmm.
I could see a cat, you could see flowers,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody else could see a pit. So that's how
Mm-hmm.
I look at my meals and how what I want to express in an art form. And I just love that slogan so much. And so I
I love
really
it too. I was like, edible love letters.
yes, yes.
Because,
Yeah.
yeah, when you think about soul food, it's so comforting, as well as Italian food. To be honest, I mean, if
Hmm.
anybody's had an
Very
amazing
romantic.
Alfredo dish or lasagna is huge over here, but it's comforting, right?
Hmm.
So when I think of a love letter, I think of something that's so comforting and just, so I get to eat the love letter. I'm loving
Yes,
it.
yes.
Yeah. So, you know, what is next? What's next for you?
I do plan on doing more cooking classes because I want to be able to bring my personality, and
Mm,
kind of that experience into the room. Being able to cook is something that we should all know how to do. It's a necessity to life. And I think people just kind of psych themselves out whenever it comes to cooking, and people are scared to make mistakes whenever the best dishes come from a mistake. So sometimes
mm-hmm,
when I burn the bottom of a pan, that sear and that extra flavor gives it a little bit more than I was even expecting, and I can't even duplicate that again,
mm,
because it was something that happened in the moment. So
Mm,
just again, listening to what, God's ideas are for me, because they're going to be bigger than anything that I could possibly plan. So just
mm-hmm,
aligning myself with him and to open myself to listen whenever he's talking, and whenever he
mm-hmm,
sends those messages. But definitely more
mm-hmm.
cooking classes, um, meal prep clients, um, which, that might be dying down a little bit because I do plan on getting back into school in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
So just,
Mm-hmm.
as far as time restraints, the reason why I even
Mm-hmm.
started doing meal preps, which I think is a really big kind of piece to add in here in an overall scope of who I am, is me challenging myself to show up every week for my business. So if you're a caterer,
Mm,
you don't necessarily get jobs every week or every 2 weeks. Sometimes you could only get them once a
right.
month. So me doing meal preps is a way to say I'm designating a full day to being in my craft. And if this is something
Mm,
that you love, then you need to be able
mm,
to show that to yourself, and you need to be able to have the discipline to show up for it. And I've shown up for
mm,
myself in meal preps and cooking every week for over a year now.
mm-hmm,
And that is also given me
mm,
the experience to be able to make mistakes, to learn how to fix those mistakes when they happen, to have a better understanding of timing, and to just keep sharpening up on my craft and learning how to create all
mm-hmm,
different ranges and varieties of food, that I wouldn't normally
mm-hmm.
do within if I'm just doing catering events in my scope.
Right. I love that. Ooh. And going back to school for what?
So I am actually going to go back to school in culinary at Nashville State. Like again, like I said, if I am going to be serious about my craft, I want the technical knowledge. I've taken different certifications, of course, like my surf safes and all of those things, but just being able to have that knowledge and to be able to officially call myself a chef. I do now because I do have the experience to back it up, to a
Mm-hmm.
certain extent. But I want that. And then getting my bachelor's of science with that kind of uh, hospitality, culinary management as the focus.
That's wonderful. So, a couple more questions. So, where can people who just fell in love with you find you and follow you and place
Yeah.
the order?
Absolutely. So, my Instagram is at flavorfix, FLAVORFIX _Chels, CHELS. That is my business page, and in there is the link to be able to go to my website. You can see some of the work that I've completed, but that's kind of the best overall hub to be able to get in touch with me. You can always send me a message if you have inquiries, or you can do an inquiry on my website.
Wonderful, wonderful. The one question that I ask our guest before we leave, if you could pour one thing into the cup of everyone listening today, something that keeps your cup filled, what would that be?
Confidence. 100%. And you
Mm,
got Alicia here to be able to help you with that. I say that because there are so many people that I talk to that I realize that the reasons why they're not going and getting what is God promised them is because their lack of confidence. If you have confidence, then you can
mm-hmm,
fix everything else, right? Like, and for me, that
mm-hmm,
was one thing where I had to really address. And I think that with at least the way that I grew up, we were always being humbled. You can't, and it's, I mean,
mm-hmm,
women especially, but you can't think you're too pretty. You're supposed to be pretty, but not too pretty. You can't, think you're too smart. I mean, you smart, but you can't think you all that, all of these things. And
mm-hmm.
F that.
Right.
Like you are supposed to. Now, there's a difference between being confident and arrogant. Now, you got to watch that line. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if we had more confidence in how we showed up in the world, it would look a lot different.
Yeah, I love that. And that's what Crown and Candid is about. The confidence. Sometimes we lose our confidence or we feel like it's gone or like we've never had it, but we have. Our confidence is our essence that it's there, but sometimes you just need someone, a tribe or something to help you see that. You go, you're running and you're taking care of everyone and you're not taking care of yourself. And you feel like that crown is starting to go like this and it's off, but it's not. We just need that confidence to find the strength that you forgot you had to straighten that crown back up.
Absolutely.
So, yes, yes. Well, Chelsea, thank you so, so much for being a guest on Crowned and Candid. I will link all of her information below. So I need everyone out there to go and follow her on Instagram, send her a message, get you some meal prep, get you some catering, do it all. Because she does have edible love letters. It's like, she does have edible love letters because I know she puts love in everything she does. So, thank you
Hmm.
so much for joining. And
Thank you so much for having me.